Hi, today I want to talk about how to compose yourself when you have any kind of issue, whether it's with a contractor, whether it's with a member of law enforcement, whether it's with somebody at your bank, whatever it is. And what I want to get across to you is that when you're dealing with anybody where they can help you out of a problem or they can choose to make it a little bit more miserable for you, that you should enter it with positivity. I'm not saying that you should be a doormat. I'm not saying that you should roll over. I'm not saying that you shouldn't even feel angry inside if you feel like you've been cheated. But what I'm saying is that if you remain positive, if you simply remain positive instead of aggressive, you're going to get a lot more out of whatever situation it is. And I'd like to start out today with one particular example. We replaced a battery, not a battery, we replaced a trackpad and a screen on a laptop about 2.5 months ago. And my system sends out a follow-up email to ask how everything went. It's automated within 1 to 3 weeks of the repair, depending. I don't remember. And we get a reply to it, and it's going on saying my battery doesn't work as well as it used to, this, that, and the other, and you know, that just kind of sucks. And I looked at the ticket, and I saw that the guy spent a decent amount of money here, so I said, bring it in, and I'll see what I can do. That's code for if we messed up, or you're a nice guy, I may give it to you cheaper for free, and if you're a douchebag and we didn't mess up, you're paying it. But I always say, let me see what we can do. But I noticed from your ticket that this did have some type of liquid damage which could have caused it. But again, if we did something, I'll replace it for free. If something happened due to liquid, I can't guarantee that. And the thing is, I was fully prepared for this gentleman to come in and for me to just give him a new battery. I did not even give a shit. I did not care whether it was our fault or his fault. I look at the cost of a battery, and then I look at what he paid, and I go, you know what? He should just have a new battery. And that's what I was planning to do, and my staff yells at me for this. They don't like when I do this. They don't like when, for no reason, when we are not at fault, I decide to help somebody out for nothing. They get pissed off at this on principle alone. And again, it's my money, it's my parts, and they are more mad than I am over this. But I do it on occasion. And I get a reply to this email about how we definitely did it, how we, said that we cleaned the laptop even though he didn't ask us to, which must have caused the shift in liquid, which would have caused the liquid damage to the battery. Then I get a quote as to the conductivity of alcohol because it was vodka. Like he's telling me the conductivity of alcohol versus water in precise measurements. Precise measurements to tell me that even if we did cause a shift in liquid, that it wasn't the liquid, that we fucked it up when we opened the laptop. And at this point, again, professionally, if we messed it up, I'll replace it, which is not likely, and professionally, if we didn't mess it up, I won't replace it. But personally, emotionally, in my head and in my gut where I make decisions, my first thought is, you can go fuck yourself. If I open up that computer and I see my screwdriver is stuck inside the battery and sticking out of the bottom of the computer, I'm still not going to want to replace it. Again, not professionally, personally. In my gut, I'm not going to want to because you've been such a douchebag. And I want you to realize that when you grow up and something happens that's not fair, that doesn't mean that you get to conduct yourself like a douchebag and actually get results. It may make you feel better momentarily to get mad when something happens that you did not want to happen, and if something like this happens that may cost you money. I understand that. I assure you I understand that. As anybody who's known me for the past 6 years knows, I have the worst luck with contractors in the world. I paid $6,000, $7,000 to have a storefront installed that leaked, and I couldn't even get the guy to come down for $100 or $200 to do what my friend did for $27, was put some fucking caulk on the top where there was a leak. I had a table built, and I just put on Instagram that the shit just fell down, like just plonk. You have to, again, I have the worst luck with contractors. I assure you, I've been there, I've done that. I've wanted to murder, I've wanted to kill, I've wanted to strangle people who took my money, and then I wanted to take more of it because there was an additional problem. And it's frustrating. It's frustrating when you deal with an issue at the bank. It's frustrating when you're dealing with getting audited. It's frustrating to deal with these situations. But what I found as I get older is that when I'm positive about it, it always turns out better for me. And the last time that I really, truly got to understand this, and I turned it into a life lesson for myself, was when I actually got a summons to go to court. So about a year or 2 years ago, I got a summons to go to court because I was exercising in the park late at night. The park closes at around 12:50, 1 o'clock. I was still there at 1:15, and I was doing dips because I had gotten off work late and I didn't want to put off, going to the gym. I couldn't go to the gym because it was closed, so I decided to use the park. And they wrote me a summons. I was pissed off about it because I didn't know the park closed, and they have a sign that's like this big that you can barely read with no lighting. But I didn't mention that. All I said is, my apologies, I didn't know the rule. I took my summons and I went home. Now I had to go to court that day, and I was one of the last people called. I was one of the last people that was called that morning in court. So when I got to court, there were at least 45 people that went in front of me, and a good 15 to 20 of them got the exact same summons I did. And one person after another, $25, $50, $100, $25, $100, $100. All these people had to pay for all these different little infractions that they got, and they had one thing in common. All of them were going on about how unfair it was. All of them were going on about how they shouldn't have to pay, and they were coming up with this defense. They were coming up with this justification as to why this was bullshit, and the sign was really small, and I didn't actually litter. That was just a dropping out of my hand because I have an unsteady hand, and all this crap. And every single one of them got a fine. And when I went up to the judge, he read the infraction, and I said, my apologies, I was not aware of the law. Now I know for next time. Not knowing was really no excuse to not be there. Just let me know what it is I have to pay, and I'll pay it and stop wasting your time. That's what I said, and I had a humble face on. I wasn't like pissed off about it, like just let me know what I have to pay, and I'll just pay it. No, I had a positive, humble attitude. And you know what he said? ACD. I don't even know what that acronym is for, but that's pretty much the judge's way of saying stop wasting my time, get out of my court, you're free to go, and you don't have to pay shit. And that taught me something, because all these people behind me who still had to go were mad. They're like, why did all these people in court have to pay fines when you got shit? And the reason is because I went there with a positive attitude. Granted, yes, I find that unfair. I find that unfair that I'm going to get fined when I'm in the park with a fucking button-down shirt and a briefcase. I could not be less threatening. There's nothing but a ThinkPad in my case. I don't have drugs on me. I'm not drunk. I'm just exercising. It's 1:05. You close at 1. The sign is this fucking small. How about you cut me a break? If I had done all that, I would have been like all these other fucktards in line that paid $25. $50, $75, $100, $150 for their fines. But since I went there humble and positive, I wound up not paying anything. And I've noticed with contractors, the thing is, again, with all these situations in life, you truly have very limited control. By the way, that's probably this douchebag arguing with me right now over the conductivity of vodka versus water, which I can't wait to read this next one. It's going to be a doozy. But you have to realize that they are not thinking with their brain most of the time. They're thinking with they're making these decisions with their gut based on emotions. And a lot of how they act is going to be based on how you treat them. And that's how we run things here very well. There are a lot of people that come in humble and kind and, just kind of sad that something didn't work out the way they wanted. You have no idea, and I don't even want to get into it because it'll create a precedent, for how much crap I have given away for free. Time, parts, just lots of my time for absolutely nothing, when it was completely 100% not my fault just because of the way somebody came in. And I cannot also tell you how many times somebody's come in 3 hours out of warranty, and we've charged them full price just for how they conducted themselves in front of a group of people. And I don't feel that bad for that because, again, you are going to get treated the way you act. And I've noticed when it comes to dealing with contractors, when it comes to dealing with people from a bank, when it comes to dealing with anybody that I want to do business with, I'm often treated the way that I treat them. They often act, or they mirror the way I act, or how they act is going to be based on what I'm doing. And there's this book by Jim Camp. It's called Start With No. And there's not a lot in there about what I'm saying, but there is one small section that I'm reminded of, where he's talking about how to close a deal, and he said, you shouldn't be the most okay person in the room. Okay meaning, you're standing up straight, you have a briefcase, you're all prepared, because people don't really feel comfortable around those type of people. They don't want to give something away or give something up to those kind of people, because they naturally, in their gut, they feel like they need to defend themselves against something that's going to happen, against something that's going to try to hurt them. It's a natural instinct. And he was talking about how some woman simply spilled open her pocketbook and was trying to collect the items and was looking frantic while she was doing it. And the gentleman in the room literally said, don't even worry about it, you have the deal. Don't even worry about it. You have the deal just over something like that, because that person allowed somebody else to feel more okay than them. They allowed somebody else to feel more okay, more prepared than them. They didn't come up with a formula to say that since this liquid is less conductive than this liquid, then this liquid did not damage my laptop. And again, it's a very primal gut thing, but when you go off on these tangents and you send 3 emails in a row, like I imagine I'm getting now, you do need to realize that you're not putting yourself in a position where you're likely to be helped unless you're dealing with an organization that has a customer service policy where greasing the squeaky wheel is how you get out of things. And I assure you, when you're dealing with a bank, they don't really care how much you bitch. When you're dealing with the IRS or New York State, or you're having a specific issue, or you having an issue with somebody who's come to your business to give you infractions about your license or whatever it is, you are not going to get anywhere with these people by being a squeaky wheel. You're going to get somewhere by not being the most okay person in the room. You're going to get somewhere by having some sense of humility, a tiny bit of a humble nature when you're going across discussing something. And I know you want to go in there guns blazing. I know you didn't get what you paid for. You bought this car and it didn't perform the way you expected. You decided to have this wall built and it wasn't built exactly the way you wanted. And you paid so much money for it. And you told them how you wanted it. But when you go in there like that, you're not going to get that much done. You're not going to be that productive. And while it may feel good for a short time period to get that out, in the long term, you're going to be pissed off, because in the long term, when you act like that, very often you lose.